Hi, I'm Jake. I make RPG supplements and videos about Pathfinder 2, or PF2. I love PF2. And the parent company, Paizo, created another edition of Starfinder for us, Starfinder 2, SF2, SFTU. So we're going to go over SFTU today. How many stars can you find in this video? Message me on Discord. You can find the link. It's not hard. So, I'm going to do an overview of classes today, which I know you know because you clicked the thumbnail. But next, also upcoming are the Ancestries, an overview of them, and individual class breakdowns, probably starting with Solarian. Starfinder 2 has 6 new classes: the Envoy, the Mystic, the Operative, the Solarian, the Soldier, and the Witch Warper. This is going to be just a brief overview of what they're like and what their jobs are. The Envoy intro, I'm going to read to you. It says, "You're a master influencer. You make your way in the universe with a charming smile, quick wit, and a keen sense of self-preservation. You're a leader who motivates your teammates, pushes them past their limits, and helps them through tough spots. You excel at getting others to do what you want, but you're always ready to face trouble head-on when things take a turn for the worse. You might be a con artist, diplomat, performer, or even a military officer, or you might take on whatever role the situation demands." So their key attribute is charisma. They're focused on charisma-based skills. So they're good at socializing before a fight starts. In fact, one of their abilities is based on being able to do so. It gives them a bonus in the first round of initiative in combat. And besides that, they are probably going to be focusing on feinting or intimidation in combat, demoralizing, and helping their allies out by giving penalties to the bad guys or bonuses to the allies. So that's about it. Get 'em is what you're going to be using in every fight as an envoy. You single out an enemy for you and your allies to focus your attacks on. This concentrated assault weakens that enemy's defenses. Select a creature within 60 feet that you can see. That creature takes a -1 circumstance penalty to AC and reflex saves until the beginning of your next turn. You can do it every turn. They don't get a save. It just helps your allies. Also, it allows your allies to do a slight amount of damage more against that one person. 1 point of damage. And you do an extra 1 plus half your charisma modifier in damage to that enemy. So that's sort of what the whole class is based around. The Envoy has a massive 7 subclasses. Each of the subclasses gives them a skill that they're trained in and a special perk of some sort. Like the one where you're leading from the front of the group, it gives you proficiency in medium armor. Trained. Yes. Other subclasses give you a bonus feat for things like using technology to distract your enemies. Like making their comm units go off or something. Because everybody's wearing armor that is basically a spacesuit that has a comm unit installed in it. Or they're just carrying around cell phones that are also flashlights. It's just their comm device. Like, those are ubiquitous in the system now, so there are feats to mess with them, or use them. The Envoy has feats like Watch Out that support your ally. It's a reaction, it's level 1, trigger, a creature targets an ally within 60 feet with an attack, and you can see both the attacker and your ally. You shout a warning to your ally, granting them a +2 circumstance bonus to AC against the triggering attack. Just helping your allies out. And they have other abilities that gain benefits when the ally does something good, like Quip, first level feat. Prerequisites: trained in intimidation, trigger, a creature within 30 feet is damaged by an ally's strike. You follow up on your ally's success by hurling a cunning, well-timed taunt at a foe they wounded, attempt to demoralize the triggering creature. So they work well with a group, they benefit from a group, and they benefit the group. It's just like Commander Light, or Marshal Light. Not a bard. But no, there are subclasses that use more bardic-like skills that just don't have spells, and that's not their main job. Mystic, I'm going to read the overview briefly, and then I'm going to tell you how they work. You are a conduit, channeling the fundamental forces that connect and bind everything in the cosmos. You tap into that power to form deep spiritual bonds with close friends. You draw from this supernatural wellspring to empower your allies, restoring their health when they're injured. By maintaining and nourishing your bonds, you tap into a cache of life energy you can call upon to supercharge your healing magic. Your powers take unique shape based on the connection you choose. That's a fancy way of saying you're a spellcaster, and you have sort of like lay on hands that regenerates during combat and that you don't have to touch people to do, which is fucking awesome. Mystic, you can choose one of 3 different traditions for your spellcasting. You can't choose arcane, so it's only divine, occult, and primal. The healing that all mystics get is called the Vitality Network. It has a maximum capacity equal to 6 plus 4 HP per mystic level. So at first level, you start with 10 hit points. What I like most about Mystic is that if people need a healer, you can choose Mystic. But you don't have to choose healing spells with any spell, because you just get an automatic at first level 10 healing points you can give out. And then in combat, at the beginning of your turn, 4 get restored into your health network. So you can always just heal if you don't have any other actions to take. You can heal somebody within 60 feet with 1 action. And there's no limit on how many hit points you can transfer. So that's awesome. It has to be yourself or a bonded creature, but it's up to 10 people. It's always going to be your party. And maybe random NPCs or people suffering or something. So other than that, you are a up to 4-slot spellcaster. You start with 3, but you can choose offensive spells or spells to just manipulate people or mess with them. Something that I don't like about the Starfinder 2 playtest is that there aren't enough spells that are cool to choose only from Starfinder 2 playtest. I understand it's a playtest, but that means that we fall back on Pathfinder 2 spells. So it can really just feel like you're playing a cleric that can choose a different spell tradition. Because you just choose the same spells you would otherwise. Oh, and you can heal. They don't really feel magically different. It is cool, though, that they get bonus abilities that trigger when they heal somebody from their Vitality Network, from their lay on hands at range. Like, for example, one of the subclasses, Akashic, the Harmony ability. Harmony is just the thing that triggers when you use your Vitality Network on somebody. So this is just the, like, rider effect. Whenever you transfer Vitality, the target receives a psychic download from the Akashic record and can immediately attempt a Recall Knowledge action. Cool. It's just an extra bonus. All the subclasses work like that. So the Mystic is going to be fun if you want to be able to heal no matter what spellcasting tradition you get, and you want to just choose a caster that's not arcane. They all get a benefit. Like the Elemental one allows your allies' next strikes to add elemental damage of whatever your elemental attunement is at the time. And that lasts until the end of that healed target's next turn. So it's awesome. It just deals extra persistent damage. Electricity or sonic for air, bludgeoning or piercing for earth, acid or slashing for metal, fire for fire, cold for water, or poison for wood. Neat. The Mystic also has feats that are very druidy or very clericy. One of them is Xeno-Druid Bond. You essentially choose a druid order. It's restricted to animal, elemental, viral, or plant. You get an additional skill from the order and additional spells. 1st, 2nd, and 5th. I know this is a lot like a sorcerer. Also, you can choose instead for a 1st level spell, Deity's Domain. You just get a domain power. Neat. And they also get focus spells, of course. They're called epiphanies. So there you go. Mystic is super flexible, occult, divine, or primal tradition caster that also heals. I like them. I think they're going to be fun to play because there's so much customization and little tweaking you can do, which is the same thing as customization. So I'm glad I said it twice. Next class, operative, is very interesting because, well, hold on, I'll get to it in a moment. Let me read the blurb at the beginning first. You're a focused and quick-witted professional who thrives in high-stakes combat. Your deadly aim and tactical training give you an edge over the competition. For you, even the most powerful enemy is just another mark to take out. You have impressive prowess in your chosen field of specialization. So their key attribute is Dex. Each of the classes in this book have a different key attribute. It's interesting. Envoy was charisma. Mystic is wisdom, and operative is dex. What was the thing? The interesting thing that I was going to mention is that the operative gets expert proficiency in simple guns and martial guns. So with guns, except advanced guns, they start off with the same bonus to attack as a fighter. Fucking cool. It's the space fighter. They're not just fighter, though. They sort of have aspects of a rogue or a monk, depending on what way you're going, because they have their own subclasses too. But no matter what, they have the ability called Sharpshooter, gives you the aim action. It takes one action, requirements, you're wielding a ranged weapon that doesn't have the area trait. So it's all about precision for them. You take careful aim at a single creature that you are aware of, designating them as your mark. Until the end of your turn, your ranged strikes against your mark using the required ranged weapon deal an additional 1d4 precision damage and reduce the circumstance bonus to AC your mark gets from cover by 1. These benefits only apply if your mark is within your weapon's first range increment. You can only have one mark at a time. There is a feat to increase it to the second range increment as well. And that's what the operative is about in general. Precision, getting bonuses to hit and damage, negating cover. There is one that allows you to use handheld guns in close combat and you don't trigger reactive strikes. And there's also one that eschews guns entirely and uses melee weapons. And it converts all of the abilities that an operative would get to using melee weapons instead of guns. Like, even gives you expert proficiency in melee weapons instead of simple and martial guns. So that was basically Black Widow. There's also one in here that is a sniper. And there's one that's a saboteur. It's just really cool things. One of the specializations, Ghost, says you're adept at taking your foes by surprise. You can aim at targets that are unaware of you as a free action. If you successfully strike a target who is unaware of you or has an attitude of friendly toward you, they become slowed 1 for 1 round. On a critical success, they're stunned for a round. It's the assassin, sniper, spy, like Black Widow, saboteur. It's a really cool looking class. I want to see it played. It's not the kind of play that I enjoy, but I do want to see it played because I think it'd be fun to watch. The operative also has some fun feats at first level, like mobile aim. It's one action, you're rarely still, and you've learned to reliably hit your targets even while moving. You stride, then aim with a gun you're wielding. So it just saves you an action. Or like weakening shot. It takes 2 actions, first level feat, requirements, you're wielding a gun. You target a creature's limbs or other appendages to weaken them. You aim, then make a ranged strike at your mark. If the strike hits, the creature becomes your choice of Clumsy 1 or Enfeebled 1 until the end of your next turn, Clumsy 2 or Enfeebled 2 on a critical hit. It's going to be a very useful and fun class to play. Finally, we're at Solarian. This one is hard to describe. Okay, so I'll read the blurb. You are a conduit for the stellar forces of the cosmos, a solar knight. The powers of gravity and light represent the extremes of these forces, and you can attune yourself between them. As an agent of this cycle, you manifest an array of solar equipment and use your own connection to stellar forces to empower them. Regardless of which extreme of the stellar spectrum you prefer, you can change your attunement between them to take advantage of bespoke powers earned through hard meditation and practice. It just means unique to you powers. Its key attribute is strength. Everything that was just described to you is just the role play of the Solarian. That's really not how they function in combat. So in combat, they summon a weapon made of light, so it's sort of like Soulforger in that way, and they can fire blasts of fire, so it's sort of like a kineticist in that way. The role playing they gave you, I guess, would be sort of like a Jedi. And they also have abilities to like move people around in combat, so I guess that way it feels like a Jedi to play one. Besides that, they are mostly melee. Their key attribute is strength, and they use it for their attacks with the melee weapon, of course, that they create, but also their ray of fire. It adds the strength bonus to damage with the ranged attack. So it's like a thrown, unarmed attack, throw fire. Despite the fact that Solarians are melee with a little bit of range mixed in, They only gain training in any weapon proficiency. I think Solarian is going to be the first video I go and do a deep dive on because their powers are just special. They're unique. They're not like other stuff that we've played before. It's also a bit confusing because the names of all their abilities sound really damn similar. The weapon that they can conjure, though, they can take 10 minutes at any point to just change it. They can add or take away traits. They can give it reach. They can give it disarm, grapple, parry, sweep, versatile, freehand, non-lethal, shove, trip, and it can be part of any of these weapon groups. Axe, club, hammer, pick, spear, brawling, flail, knife, polearm, sword. They also gain abilities to light people on fire, to do fire damage, or to do bludgeoning damage by using gravity. They are weird. They also have feats that let them conjure a shield of light or gravity. And it gets special abilities like reducing the damage they take, that gives it hardness. Or when it gets destroyed, it blows up and dazzles or blinds people around them. Or they can take a feat that allows them to summon 2 of their light weapons. I'm interested to see the builds that people make with this. There are only 3 subclasses, so there's only so much fancy shit you can do, but because they can have almost any weapon trait, there are a lot of builds you can do with this. Soldier, probably the easiest one to describe. I'll read the blurb first. You are a master of area weapons, heavy armor, and taking punishment. You stand in the thick of the battle and unleash devastating salvos against your foes while taking withering fire in return. By laying down a barrage of suppressing fire with powerful weapons, you set your allies up to fulfill their respective roles while encouraging enemies to focus on you. Suppressive fire that they're talking about, the soldier generally uses a weapon that discharges a lot of shells or lasers or rockets or whatever you're using. It's a big wide area of an effect. And in that area of effect, they suppress enemies, and the suppressed condition gives -1 to attack rolls and -5 feet to all of your speeds. So essentially they're just hesitant and move slower because they're getting bullets all around them. The soldier's key attribute is Constitution, and their hit points are 10, and they wear heavy armor. They really do just try to suck up all the damage. They stand in front and spray their enemies with bullets. Sounds like fun to me. They have some interesting feats, too. One of them, Ready Reload, is first level feat. It's 1 action. Requirements: you're wielding a 2-handed ranged weapon with a reload of 2 or more, and your last action was an attack action that consumed ammunition from the weapon. Reloading a weapon can be a delicate process, but you've mastered how to do so in the middle of combat, beginning the process while still in the act of firing your weapon. You interact to reload your weapon, reducing its reload cost by 1. Unlike most interact actions, you don't need a free hand to reload your ranged weapon in this way. Cool. It just lets you spray more bullets more frequently. Speaking of which, another first level feat, Warning Spray. It's a free action trigger. You roll initiative. Requirements: you are wielding a weapon with the area or automatic trait. As combat begins, you unleash an undirected snapshot with your weapon, forcing advancing foes to cower on approach. Make an area fire or auto fire with your weapon. Your selected weapon cannot be a grenade or missile launcher. Yes, those are in the book. Creatures in the area take no damage, but must still make a save to avoid being suppressed or take other effects your area attack would normally impose. So at the beginning of combat, you give your enemies a -1 to hit. That seems like a great idea for a feat. Last but certainly not least, Witch Warper. This one's hard to explain. Alright, I'll read the intro. Bear in mind, this is largely just the roleplay. A strange paradoxical event forever altered your existence, and now you can manipulate reality. You explore the infinite possibilities of the multiverse, possibly visualizing variant timelines. You create fields that subvert space and time, allowing you to cast powerful magic. You focus on an anchoring memory, concept, or object to help you identify reality. Okay, so that anchoring memory thing is basically the subconscious power of the psychic. I mean, that's how it is in feel, but what it actually does is, like, let's say you chose object, and you have this compass that you feel like always leads you in the right direction. So you rub the compass, and it reduces a couple of negative conditions on you if you have them, like stupefied. Cool stuff there. There are no wimpy casters in this book. 8 hit points. So this one's intelligence-based, if you couldn't guess. The Witch Warper, okay, first of all, they're a spellcaster. So they can choose from arcane or occult spells. That's just the way it works. All the subclasses, you only have those 2 choices. But they are then the only group that gets arcane spells, so that's neat. And as usual, their subclass gives them a special focus spell that has the same feel as the name of the subclass. Like precog. The main unique feature of a Witch Warper is their quantum field. Ignore the word quantum, it doesn't make any sense with the power. Basically, on their turn, they can choose a 15-foot radius burst centered on a point within 100 feet to alter in some way. It really depends on the subclass and feats. So it could be that you are causing everybody who might use an ability with a concentrate trait to make a flat DC 5 check, or it fails and interrupts that ability. Or it might be that it just creates difficult terrain in the area. So basically they are just arcane or occult intelligence-based spellcasters with a couple of weird tricks. Thank you for being with me for the overview. If you're a patron, I especially appreciate the use of your eyeballs or ear holes, depending on how you're enjoying this masterpiece. If you want to catch up on Player Core 2 stuff, there's a playlist here. And keep up on the rest of these 2 videos that I'm putting out. See you soon.